Welcome to the Tweak of the Week. Today, a nice release for the upper back using one of my favorite high-tech tools, the dead tennis ball. Welcome back. I'm Tommy Larkin, and thank you for joining me today. Now, over the last handful of tweaks, you may have found that you need a little extra pinpoint stretching or trigger point release. Back in tweak number 70, I showed you how to release and stretch the front of the chest using the wall or a door frame. Now, this one is great if you have been feeling in these last plank ones more impact on the upper chest and inner side of the arm. But if you've been feeling it in your back, these plank exercises can really aggravate or impact the upper and mid back. So today we're going to use a release with the tennis ball to get into those points. Now, a lot of my physical therapist friends, they like to recommend using a lacrosse ball, but I tend to find that the lacrosse ball is a little too firm, especially when you have really sore muscles. Now, it can be the tennis ball and the lacrosse ball can be great tools, and the lacrosse ball is really great when you need a little more single pointed pressure in a given area, and especially when you need to reach deeper muscles like the psoas. But I prefer the tennis ball, and one in actuality which is dead, meaning it has no real bounce to it, because I find it gives a better resistance. It also is a little more pliable, which creates more of that true massage feeling, especially when rolling around on it. Now, feel free to try both balls and even a brand new tennis ball if that is all you have. But for today's work, it doesn't really matter which ball you use. I want you to actually get the idea of what to do, and then you can work out your personal preference with time. Now, the main muscle we are targeting today is the trapezius, but with a little experimentation of where you place the ball and how you might roll against it, you can also get into an effect release in the latissimus dorsi, the teres major and teres minor, infraspinatus, the rhomboids, and the erector spinae. So let's grab that tennis ball and get over to the wall and try this easy exercise. All right, so there are two ways that we can do this exercise. One is using the wall, and the other one is laying on the floor, which we'll get to next. So with your tennis ball, you're going to come to the wall with the feet about a foot away from the wall is fine, because you want to be able to lean into the wall. And some people like to use opposite hand to come across. I like to just use the same hand. You kind of get that ball right up in the trapezius, right near the top of the shoulder. Now I'm giving you this is kind of a weird angle at the camera, but I want to make sure you could see that ball so you can kind of get an idea of where I'm placing that ball. And there are two places you can put that ball or work with it here. One is this spot, and you can then kind of roll on that spot and find the nice little spot for you that's maybe a little bit tight or sore. And then you kind of let the body lean into the ball, and you're going to reach that same arm up to the sky about 5 times. Right? Just like that. Very easy. Right? Now, while you're doing that, you want to make sure those front ribs don't poke out. So you're not this is not doing a whole lot. It's not giving you the stretch. So those ribs stay in, you stay neutral in the body, and you're really extending the arm, and that gets you that work. All right. Now you can also get that ball down a little bit lower. That can be a little challenging once in a while, but you get a little right near the tip of the shoulder blade and a little closer to the spine, and then you can kind of lean into it there and kind of roll up and down. This one's really nice here. This one's actually a little easier on the floor, and you find that tight spot and you can reach that arm up again. Right? You can also try some different arm positions. I actually like when it's lower to bring the arm across the body as well as going up. I'll do both directions. And again, those ribs stay stationary in the body. All right. So that's the one at the wall. Let's come down to the floor and check that one out. All right, so here we are on the floor. So with your tennis ball, you're going to come down onto your back. You're going to take that tennis ball and go, either hand is fine. You can reach across the body or not. Doesn't really matter. You're going to put that tennis ball pretty much in that same spot you had at the wall. And you may rest your head on the floor. You may not. Kind of depends on how tight that muscle is and what's going on there. And then you can roll forward and backwards a little bit, find the sweet spot. That's about it right there for me. And you'll notice it's a little more challenging for my head to get down because that's really tight right now in there. And then you can stay here and kind of oscillate a little bit, find a little bit of movement if you can, or you can move that arm up and down. And again, here it's a little bit easier to keep those ribs stationary. Again, you could do that 5 times, 4 or 5 times is great. And you can even switch spots the tennis ball again. You can come down a little bit. Here I find it a little bit easier to get on the shoulder blade, and you can really get in there and do that arm movement again, which can be a little more challenging. That can really get the last little part of that trap. Right? So I'll even do a combination of the two. I'll do the wall, and then I'll come down and use the floor. Now, one thing I want to point out is this tennis ball looks like it's pretty brand new. It's really not. It's actually pretty old. It's just not used a lot on a tennis court. As a matter of fact, it was never used on a tennis court. I opened it here, and one of the ways you can get a tennis ball to deaden up a little bit if you need to, that's one of the indications that it's dead. It doesn't have a lot of resistance in the push, is to drive them around in a hot car. And they'll deaden up fairly quickly. But also just using them is a great way to make them deaden a little bit more. Now, of course, again, you can use a dead tennis ball. You can use a fresh tennis ball. You can use a lacrosse ball. Any of those 3 options, and that will work just fine. So there you go. So there you go. I hope you gained great benefit from today's tweak. If you have any questions about this or any other tweak, let me know. Put your question in the specific tweaks comment section and I'll get back to you. Now also, if you like today's tweak, I greatly appreciate you hitting that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to learn about what's coming up. Plus, check out the website and follow us on social media for other inspirational and great ways to learn how to increase your vital energy. You'll find those links in the description below. Now, as always, thank you so much for joining me today. And until next time, have an amazing week and be excellent to each other.